Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and keep watching more details. The Curse of Oak Island. The team finds strong evidence of a pre-Columbus visit to the island. The Curse of Oak Island team was still in Italy for this week's episode, and they found strong evidence of a voyage by sailors close to Templar Knights to the area of Oak Island nearly 100 years before Columbus reached America. Rick Lagina and the guys were in Italy to research the long-held theory that members of the medieval order of Templar Knights hid treasure and ancient Christian relics on Oak Island. The Templars had been a powerful order charged with protecting Christians in the Holy Land, but at the beginning of the 14th century, they fell from favor and were persecuted and disbanded. The guys now believe that the Templars transported a quantity of treasure from Jerusalem through Italy, France, and Scotland and finally deposited it on Oak Island long before Christopher Columbus's infamous voyage. Rick and the guys met up with Professor Andrea Perobolante at the American University of Rome, where they learned about the voyages of the Zeno brothers, who many believe traveled to North America in the 1390s. Perobolante, an expert on pre-Columbian voyages to America, explained that Antonio and Niccolo Zeno were two merchant sailors from Venice who sailed up to Scotland and the Faroe Islands in search of trade. Did a 14th-century Scottish Templar knight sail to Oak Island? The Zeno brothers then met up with and began working for the Scottish prince, Henry Sinclair, who was known as a Templar knight sympathizer. Some historians have previously credited Sinclair with traveling to North America with saved Templar treasure. However, Perobolante produced a map created by a Zeno descendant in 1558, which showed the Zeno brothers' voyage. And incredibly, the map shows an edge of Newfoundland and Nova Scotia. The professor also revealed another map from the late 17th century that actually credited Antonio Zeno with discovering Canada. The guys saw this as clear evidence that individuals connected with the Templar Knights could have visited Oak Island in the 14th century. The Oak Island team wasn't finished there though. They headed to an old Templar church in the town of Viterbo to examine the symbols on the walls. Here, they came across a carving of a cross with 4 dots, similar to the infamous Hoe stone. The Hoe stone, found on Oak Island in the 1920s, was thought to be a marker and was so called because it featured 2 symbols that looked like an H and an O, with a cross and 4 dots in between. Templar knight expert Gianluca De Prospero told the guys that the cross with the 4-dot symbol was used by the knights to indicate ancient relics were placed nearby. Alex Lagina says that Hoe stone could be a Templar marker. Alex had a brainwave when he found a carving on a pillar that read HIC, and was informed that hic means here in Latin. The younger Lagina noted the similarity of the carving to the one on the Hoe stone, and speculated that the Oak Island stone may actually read, "Here is Templar treasure." It's a fascinating theory and definitely one that will have to be further explored. Meanwhile, back on an increasingly rain-soaked Oak Island, winter is rapidly approaching. The Dumas Mining Company finally reached and secured the bottom of the garden shaft. Marty Lagina and Charles Barkhouse traveled 82 feet down to the bottom, where they were both blown away by the excitement of actually getting below ground in the Money Pit area. Marty said, "The treasure hunt begins now." The sun rose over Oak Island, casting its golden rays across the mysterious landscape that had captivated treasure hunters for centuries. Marty Lagina stood at the edge of the swamp, the familiar hum of the excavation machinery behind him. But today, there was a new energy in the air. Something big was brewing. For years they had unearthed tantalizing clues, coins, artifacts, and remnants of old structures. But today the team felt closer than ever to uncovering something far more profound, evidence of a pre-Columbus visit to the island. Rick Lagina approached, his boots sinking slightly into the damp earth as he waved a hand toward the cluster of researchers by the water's edge. The swamp, once considered a dead end, was now a focal point. "We might have something here," he said, voice tinged with cautious excitement. "A lot more than we expected." The team had been meticulously draining and scouring the swamp for weeks, peeling back layers of mud and history, searching for signs of human activity long before the age of European exploration. The find had come unexpectedly, as such things often did on Oak Island. There, nestled beneath layers of silt, they had uncovered a collection of what appeared to be carved stones, runic symbols and designs that defied explanation. These markings, Laird Niven, the archaeologist, crouched beside the largest stone, tracing the intricate symbols with gloved fingers. They're not like anything we've seen here before. They're far older, and they don't match any known European influence from the colonial period. He straightened, brushing dirt from his pants. I think we may have found something that changes everything. Craig Tester leaned over the stone, scrutinizing the symbols. Could they be Norse? He asked, his brow furrowed. Vikings were known to have explored parts of North America centuries before Columbus. It's possible, Laird replied, but it's more than just the stones. We found something else. With that, the team made their way to a nearby tent where a collection of recently uncovered items lay on a table under the soft glow of work lights. There, among the usual detritus of Oak Island, old nails, broken pottery, were two items that stood out. The first was a fragment of what appeared to be a ship's mast, weathered but unmistakably ancient. The second was a small, intricately carved artifact, perhaps a piece of jewelry or a ceremonial object. Both showed signs of extreme age. Gary Drayton, the metal detecting expert, stepped forward, his face alight with enthusiasm. This little beauty, he said, lifting the artifact carefully, was buried about 10 feet down in the swamp. It's made of a metal that doesn't match anything we've found on the island before. It's ancient, older than any colonial presence here. And look at the craftsmanship, it's unlike anything we've seen. Could it be from the Vikings? Marty asked, eyeing the artifact. It's possible, but it doesn't quite match the Norse style, Laird said thoughtfully. It could be something else, something even older. We might be looking at evidence of a visit from an ancient civilization we've never considered. Rick's eyes widened as he absorbed the weight of Laird's words. The idea of someone, anyone, setting foot on Oak Island before the age of exploration was nothing short of revolutionary. For decades, the island's history had been bound to tales of pirates, Spanish galleons, and colonial intrigue. But now, as they stood on the precipice of a discovery that could rewrite history, the stakes had never been higher. The team continued their investigation, determined to gather more evidence to support the theory of a pre-Columbus visit. They began excavating deeper into the swamp, focusing on the area where the stones and artifacts had been found. Each layer peeled back revealed more mysteries, fragments of what looked like ancient tools, charred wood that could indicate an old campsite, and most intriguingly, a series of wooden structures buried beneath the muck. "We've found platforms like these before," Rick said, peering into the waterlogged pit where timbers protruded from the ground. "But this one is different. It's older, much older." As they unearthed the timbers, it became clear that this was not a random collection of debris. It was a carefully constructed platform, possibly a dock or a landing site for ships. The wood was unlike any found in other colonial structures, and preliminary carbon dating suggested an origin far older than anything else on the island. The timbers, combined with the artifacts and carvings, painted a picture of a settlement, or at least a stopover, by a group of people long before the first European sails had appeared on the horizon. "If this platform is as old as the carbon dating suggests," Marty said, his voice filled with awe, "we could be looking at evidence of transatlantic contact centuries before Columbus. This changes everything we thought we knew about the history of this island." As the team gathered around the newly uncovered site, the magnitude of their discovery began to sink in. They had come to Oak Island searching for treasure, gold, jewels, and lost fortunes, but what they had found was something far more valuable, proof that history is never as settled as it seems. The evidence of a pre-Columbus visit to Oak Island opened a floodgate of new questions. Who were these ancient visitors? What brought them to this remote island off the coast of Nova Scotia? And most tantalizingly, did they leave behind something even more significant, perhaps the very treasure that had eluded treasure hunters for centuries? Rick, ever the optimist, turned to the team. "This is just the beginning," he said, his voice steady with determination. "We've uncovered a piece of history that no one expected, but there's more out there. I can feel it." And so, with renewed vigor, the team pressed on, knowing that each discovery brought them one step closer to unraveling the true mystery of Oak Island, a mystery that now stretched back further in time than any of them had ever imagined.